Alright, hello there ladies and gentlemen, this is Moltrap. I'm here again with Cholera, as might be expected since we've done the last two games together, and we said we'd do them all. And we are continuing to do them all. This is Haya versus Fantasy, and should be very interesting. Both these guys are very, very good Terran versus Terran. I actually might give the advantage to Haya, though. Fantasy is kind of known for other matchups. I haven't checked
would
his
too.
stats. I haven't checked his stats or anything, but Haya can be very, very good at Terran versus Terran. It's kind of just off the top of my head, I would consider it one of his best matchups. You know, probably in his top 3 matchups, I'd say. But anyway, game's about to start. It should be interesting, one way or another. Both these players capable of some entertaining play and some interesting play. So it's probably not going to be like, if you saw, 9-10 versus Hiri or something like that. It'd be probably the most boring game you've ever seen in your life. So these guys are probably going to be a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, Haya's record actually belies his true skill. I think Haya's actually statistically his worst matchup is Terran, so
There you go.
pretty funny that both of us think he's good at it. But Fantasy, of course, managed to move on in the OSL by beating, going through Lita, and that certainly says that he's probably actually, I'm going to actually call him the favorite now that I've thought about it for a second. Haya here in the blue at the top left, Fantasy in the teal at the top right. And by the way, last game, we were talking about at the very end, oh my god, what's
kill
Bunky doing?
Kill Bunky!
Is he getting killed by
Snap
some
his
random
neck.
dude? We were talking at the end of last game, but I got cut off about how I was wondering why Best didn't put a pylon down where the supply depot was supposed to be built at the base of the turn, so that he could keep that up long enough and wait until Zealot came out, so that there would be no true wall-in. But the reason why he couldn't do that is because the SCV did such a good job blocking the ramp that Best never got up the ramp until the second supply depot was already being built. So the wall-in was already complete, or was already, impenetrable by the time his probes got up there, so he couldn't put down a pylon block. Instead, he had to go for this all-in strategy that ultimately failed. So, we're going to see how Haya does here, most likely in a standard game, because both players looks like they're just going to open up fairly standard here.
Yeah, I was just as a matter of interest postulating that sometimes you can actually build your front door where if they put down a pylon, you can actually build the extra depot on either the left or the right of the pylon, and it'll still block things off. I'm not sure if that was a situation for that one. But anyway, I did also wanted to say that Fantasy won against Lita, but that's because Lita threw that game away. Lita was up 180 supply to 115 supply at one point, and then started throwing his crap away and let Fantasy take bases that he didn't need to, and kept...
He got EMP'd a lot.
He did, but he also let 3 siege tanks keep him from mining the right side base for the entire game instead of using his 4 dropships and 60 supply difference to kill off those 3 siege tanks. But anyway, that's besides the point. Fantasy is good Terran versus Terran though. I guess I wouldn't put him in the top ranks of Terran versus Terran, along with the likes of Flash, and I would say Firebat Hero, and maybe Huashin, actually. Huashin's been doing good TBT lately. But anyway, doesn't really matter. None of those players are in this matchup. This is Haya versus Fantasy. And by the way, Fantasy, I don't know if we've said the colors yet. Have we said the colors?
Yeah, we said it.
Okay.
Fantasy in the upper right, and Haya in the upper left.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, it looks like this game opening up very slowly. As is, can be expected on Coliseum 2 in a Terran versus Terran. Not going to be the fastest game, but we're going to see just these Marines chasing away an SCV. Both players look like they don't have really much of a scout yet inside of either's bases. So, they're going to be playing in the dark, and we're going to be seeing most likely fast expands. This is Fantasy. Looks like he's going to be about to set up a fast expand. Meanwhile, an SCV finally reaching his base. It was a bunch of scouting in the wrong directions for both players, and a bunch of scout denial. But this time, actually, the scout doesn't get denied. And what is this? Looks like 4 Marines going out for Haya, so he's going to be trying to put some early pressure here against the fast expand, which is a relatively fast expand. It started before the factory was finished, so this might actually do a little bit of damage, and there's a vulture out also from both players, it seems.
Yeah, they only showed it for a second, but Haya actually getting a starport also, so he is not looking to expand, it looks like.
Yeah.
And he's getting machine shop as well. He's got SCVs on gas, so he's definitely not going for the standard expansion. He's going for almost an all-in on this map, because once your rush fails, the other guy has an easy hold for a second and third expansion, so it's hard to get back ahead. But the time it takes for his forces to walk over, Fantasy has the exact same amount of troops. He's got almost as many Marines. He's got more Vultures as well. So I don't know if this rush is going to succeed. He's going to have to succeed basically with the raids and what have you when he moves out. Once the starport gets in action, that's going to be the thing that's going to clinch this rush for him, because now Fantasy is getting SCVs on that second base. So in about 2 minutes' time, the economy of that second base is going to start kicking in, and then it's going to be all over. But it's all going to be up to these raids here. Although I think I saw, yeah, there's an armory going down for Fantasy. So this raid's probably only going to be able to do a little bit of damage before he's going to be able to fend it off. But if he can do enough damage that the ground forces can make it in and do damage, then that might be the key.
I mean, yeah, perhaps, but it looks like Fantasy was very smart there. He definitely called this build out very well, I gotta say. I mean, normally,
Oh my God,
why
that
are we
scared
showing
me.
Bunky? Bunky, go away! Go away! We don't need you here. Normally, we don't see an armory after one fact when you're getting pressure in front, but he expected this build entirely, and putting down that armory before his second factory. Very, very, very good play. And here we're seeing just a bunch of SCVs. Looks like they're actually going to push out here with the first Goliath and a tank, so he's actually going on a crazy big counteroffensive, but what's he doing? Oh, he really wants to take down his bunker, it seems. He doesn't want a siege position to be made there, but this might not work. He's going to lose a ton of units here. He's going to lose, no, looks like he gets the tank down. So I actually think, though, that Haya had the best of this exchange. That definitely didn't work, because Fantasy lost a ton of SCVs there. He lost just 5 or 6 SCVs at least, and he's going to lose now his tanks and his vultures.
And he didn't even get either of the raids at all. And now the raids are going to be able to pick away at that tank. The second Goliath coming in is finally going to damage those raids, but Marines coming out of the bunker to finish off the Goliath, it looks like, despite 5 SCVs trying to repair it. No, actually, 2 of those SCVs are Fantasies. I'm sorry, Haya. So Haya has a nice seal on Fantasy's base now. He's got those SCVs in that bunker. He's got a tank coming in. He's probably got siege mode researching right now. So I think once siege mode comes in, it's going to be really, really difficult for Fantasy to move out. Maybe that's why he was... Oh, actually, but he loses his Wraith. His tank is stuck out in the middle, but no, he's going to repair it. So he does save that tank, and that was critical, and his Marines don't die either. So I think once he gets siege mode up, he's going to have enough of a seal on Fantasy's base that it'll be just so hard for Fantasy to move out. Maybe that's why he went like crazy all in with those SCVs, try and break that containment before it got set up with siege tanks. But there's the siege tank, siege mode wailing on those Goliaths, who decided to stand there and attack the barracks instead of moving out of range, and this is pretty close to over, I think.
Yeah, I gotta say, some may disagree with me, but I think that was definitely not necessary, that all-in attack. I mean, I can understand he felt there was some weakness there, and he felt that he didn't want to get siege contained at his own natural expansion, but the fact of the matter is he was producing more tanks at that moment. He could have just waited just a couple more, maybe a minute, and their siege mode still wouldn't be finished, and then he could move out with a number of tanks and Goliaths, and, still do the same thing, and most likely have a much better outcome than what he had here, which is just very, very poor. And besides, he had 2 base against 1 still at that moment. I mean, that siege containment wasn't so bad. It wasn't in range of these factories, I don't believe. It just is a perplexing move. I mean, obviously there's good reasons for it too, but overall I think that I've got to call that a blunder. And just now losing a couple more units, Goliaths in the field and everything, that's rather needless. And Haya is not letting up the pressure here, killing off the last tank of Fantasies again. Fantasy having to commit to a lot of Goliaths also. I felt that I guess right now he needs a Goliath because he's just trying to pump out anything, but he didn't need so many Goliaths because there's only 1 or 2 Wraiths in the air. He could have taken some damage on his tanks from the Wraith and been better off having the tanks instead. So now he's in a horrible position. He's only building out of 2 factories, and he has a worse economy now than Fantasies, and of course, than Haya rather, and Haya of course has a huge army superiority at this point.
Yeah, and then in the meantime, Haya's gotten up to second base too, so yeah, I mean, he's got a worse economy, and he's in a worse position. He's having to lift his expansion because the tanks have gotten within range. There's now 4 tanks there, and this may be it. This may be the last push. Pushing out with SCVs, his tank goes down. The Marines are right there, along with a Vulture to slaughter the SCVs before those SCVs could even think about hitting those tanks, and now the Wraith is even going to polish off the command center before it can be repaired. So this game is pretty much over at this point. Um, uh, it looks like Fantasy is desperately trying to throw whatever he can at this, but just too many forces there. Those the Vultures, the Vulture, the Marines, and the Wraith are just doing too good of a job of picking off units getting close to the tanks. Tanks doing too good of a job of picking off anything far away. And his factories are going to burn down in a second anyways. There we go. GG coming from Fantasy. So Haya busting out and playing his A game against Fantasy and doing a bit of a crazy rush that almost didn't work, but he pulled it off actually.
Yeah, I'm actually super impressed by this game. Not only because he managed to beat Fantasy, first beating Best too. I mean, that is just some incredible results here for this guy who's just been on a hot streak. But also because he wasn't prepared to go for that rush. He didn't think about it. He just acted right after he saw the early CC, and then he said, "I'm going to make an adjustment, and I'm going to go for a rush." And that's a hallmark of a truly good player, is that he's able to make an adjustment to a standard build to react to his opponent's actions. And that kind of flexibility is what can allow him to become a great player in the future. And I gotta say that Bunker was very smart there at that position. It single-handedly stopped the counterattack there. I mean, absolutely killed off so many SCVs, killed off so many of the units that were trying to counterattack, and it just didn't work. And there's Boxer. Maybe he's going to be put up eventually for SKT1. That would be exciting to watch.
Well, Haya's won the last 2 games, but he's going to have his work cut out for him because SKT1 is sending out Bisu next. So good luck to Haya.